Hey guys, welcome back to Reserved Investments on YouTube. Okay, I want to have a heart-to-heart conversation with some of you guys because now that I've been on YouTube for approaching 2 years, I've done collaborations with everyone from PokeGal to Rainy Day Collectibles to Solemn Yu-Gi-Oh! All these excellent people that offer their perspective on how some of these markets work in the overall antiques and collectibles trade. And you can tell all of us, including myself, or even if you watch Rudy with Alpha Investments, even if you watch SM Pratt, or you're one of the other guys that maybe watches a lot of the finance channels with Graham Stephan, Meet Kevin, even Dave Ramsey, all of us offer a unique perspective, and we all have a passion for these particular items, whether they're antiques and collectibles, whether it's about stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, real estate, cryptocurrency, whatever it is that we are talking about. It should be very clear that when we speak to you guys, we obviously have a lot of passion towards these markets. And that's really what I want to speak to today. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about finance, but more so about the passion that comes towards how we perceive these items of value, how we perceive just the items that we enjoy that may not have any overall value on the secondary market or any market here within. And I want to be very clear on this. I'm getting a lot of comments where people are saying, well, Sean, I don't think you understand. In 40, 50 years, retro video games are going to go to the moon. Pokemon cards are going to go to the moon. Magic the Gathering is going to go to the moon. Then I have other people that are coming into the comment section. Well, if one of these Magic the Gathering cards, if one of these video games, if one of these Pokemon cards, if one of these Yu-Gi-Oh cards, whatever it is that they collect, they have this dollar amount in their mind where if this collectible surpasses $1 million, it's going to be the new frontier where everybody and a lot of money and a lot of investment money is just going to flow into that market. Then on the other side of the proverbial coin, I get troll comments from people who tell me, well, the high-end art market is going to go to zero, or nobody collects traditional antiques or coins or historical documents or whatever item they want to knock. Or they come in the comment section and they tell me, Sean, you don't know what you're talking about when you refer to cryptocurrency as a speculative asset. And I'm at the point where I've always tried to respond reasonably to some of these comments. But now I'm at a point where I look at my back catalog of videos and I go, okay, I pretty much have almost 270 videos upload to YouTube at present time. If you want to hear my thoughts on cryptocurrency, if you want to hear my thoughts on Pokemon, if you want to hear my thoughts on graded video games or Magic the Gathering or collectible coins or high-end art, at this particular point in time, all you need to do is go to YouTube, type in Reserved Investments Art, Reserved Investments Pokemon, whatever subject matter you want to learn, or if you just want to see the back catalog of all the videos that I've created, you can pretty much pull them up and watch them until your heart's content, or even ridicule them until your heart's content. You know, what really set me off is I had somebody come into my comment section and they stated, Sean, I don't think you understand. Pokemon will never go to zero. And I did the person a favor. I came into the chat or into the comment section and I replied. And I said, yes, you are correct. But much like Lionel trains or even Mark's toy play sets, most of those asset classes will not go to zero. It doesn't make them a good investment. The thing that a lot of people that don't realize what they're doing when they operate in these markets, in the antiques and collectibles trade, they're coming from the standpoint of confirmation bias and emotional attachment. What I do in this channel is, the reason why some of you really get an uncomfortable feeling when you watch this channel, what I do is I make you guys remove yourselves from that emotional attachment, and we look at how these markets operate over the long term and over the short term. Now, if you're somebody, you know how these markets work, maybe you're educated in economics, business, and finance like me, you can make money over the short term and even over the long term. But the long-term future of any of these collecting categories is always murkier than what's coming up in the next quarter, the next year, the next 2 years. That is easy to predict. You know, when I first started this channel, I talked an awful lot about graded video games, mainly with the rise and manipulation of WADA, how they came in, how they got a stranglehold on the secondary market, and all the Timmies, Kimmies, Poindexters, market manipulators, market makers all went into that market. And now we're seeing some crazy stuff with vintage video games that literally 5 years ago would have never been possible. And a lot of you guys keep arguing with me, Sean, it's the next big thing. You don't understand. I'm not disputing that vintage video games, retro video games are popular or are not coming into their own. What I am disputing is the fact that it's always going to be like this. Some of you guys are making a dangerous miscalculation where you are comparing what's happening in Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, graded video games, vintage video games, even certain vintage toys, and you are assuming those markets are going to be as robust as collectible coins, high-end pieces of art, historical artifacts, items of that nature. You're looking at the most sophisticated markets in the trade, and you're seeing what all these pieces are selling for, and you're going, well, eventually, video games, Pokemon, and Magic the Gathering are going to get there. I hate to tell you guys, that most likely will not happen. So where I'm going to leave this video off at is, I have 3 books that I've often recommended that you should read on this channel. If you can hunt them down, if you can afford them, there is one here that is very well affordable. All of you guys should read it. The first book I think that you guys should read, and this is readily available on Amazon, if you want to get inside the antiques and collectibles trade, is Killer Stuff and Tons of Money. This book is by Maureen Stanton, and it'll set you back $20 or less on Amazon, and it's roughly 200 pages. You can probably read it in a weekend. Now, one thing you got to keep in mind when you read this book was written during the financial crisis. As a result, it casts a very negative shadow, not only on the collectibles trade, but also on the antiques trade. But this is a book that will take you inside how these worlds operate, how these markets function. It even goes in and looks at like certain auctioneers, certain people in the trade that may or may not be engaged in market manipulation. Very big hint. I'm not going to state any more about this book because I've already done a video dedicated to this book on this particular channel. But this is something that you guys should be reading. The next book, for all you guys that think that all these markets are 100% organic, where people just love graded video games, people love vintage video games, people love high-end art, people love Pokemon, people love Magic the Gathering, people love Yu-Gi-Oh! And that's why they're paying a record price for some of these items. You got to pull the curtain back and you got to look at the wizard behind the scenes. There is a lot of market manipulation happening right under a lot of your noses in these markets, and you guys don't even question it. You know, one of the things, this is something about me. You guys know my political views, and I'm just going to state this, and you can hate me all you want. I do lean left, but I also have a very open mind. And one of the people that I do listen to a lot is Jordan Peterson. And one of the things that Jordan Peterson says, one of the things that I agree with, because I do like to be challenged in his content. I do not agree with everything that he states. But one of the things that I really agree with, Jordan Peterson really gets in your mind. And one of the things that he always said is there's a lot of self-doubt. There's a lot of conspiracy theories out there. And there's a lot of people that really believe in crazy things. But one of the things that these people do not have enough mental capacity to understand, if you doubt everything, meaning right now you're watching Reserved Investments on YouTube, let's say that you think I am a complete lunatic, you don't agree with anything I say, you are out there trying to prove me wrong in these markets. That's fine, I give you credit for that. But the one thing that you're missing is you lack the ability to even realize that if you doubt everything that I produce on this channel, you must have the ability to realize that you yourself could be wrong and you're not doubting yourself. And that's what scares me when I interact with a lot of people, not only in the antiques and collectibles trade, but also in the political world, in the business world, in the finance world, in the investment world, in the real estate world, whatever market I am operating in. One of the things that I always hold true to fast to is, you know, this is the way I'm analyzing something. I could be potentially wrong. I have to pull back and I have to analyze these markets from an unbiased perspective. And that's what I try to do on this channel. So the next book, if you can find this book is selling for a significant premium right now. This is Harry Rinker's book, How to Make the Most of Your Investments in Antiques and Collectibles. The first insider's guide to manipulating the antiques and collectibles markets to maximize your investment. Now, this book was written in a pre-internet era. This book was published in the 1980s. I first came across this book through one of my mentors in the antiques and collectibles trade who got me turned on to Harry Rinker back in the late 1980s. If you can hunt down a copy, this is well worth reading, so at least you understand and recognize some of the tricks that market manipulators and market makers are using to part you with your own money on some of these objects that you have an emotional attachment to. There really is, I'm going to say, there really is no such thing as a blue chip collectible or even a blue chip antique. Some items are just more historic than others. That's why I choose to invest in coins, currency, historical documents, items like that for the long term. Some of you in your 20s, you haven't seen a significant market downturn in the antiques and collectibles trade as of yet. I assure you, eventually that's going to hit. And to use a famous quote that I have on this channel, it's going to smack a lot of you in the face like you're being hit with a stale donut. And you're going to feel it. It's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you time. And you're going to get emotionally angry when that occurs. Now, the last book, and again, this is an expensive book, and it is a finance book. Lots of formulas, lots of wonderful graphs and charts. The last book, if you are so inclined to read, is Collectible Investments for the High Net Worth Individual and or Investor. Now, this book, along with this book, are very two powerful books that you can utilize to analyze the antiques and collectibles market from an unbiased standpoint. And what I'm going to tell you is, if you get this book and you pay the $70 or $80 on Amazon and you actually read it, even if you are not educated in finance, you don't even utilize the graphs, the formulas that they provide, you just read the basics. One of the things that's going to slap you in the face like a stale donut is that there is a reason that high net worth investors, for the most part, are not putting their money in pop culture collectibles for the long term. Now, you may not agree with that. You may not like that, but that is 100% honest. And if you read all three of these books, you will have more knowledge and more understanding of the antiques and collectibles trade than the average speculator out there. And you will be working from a significant advantage point, assuming you can control your emotions where you don't get overtly attached to these items. Thank you for listening. Even if you disagree with the points presented in this particular video, I still want to know your thoughts in the comment section below. We will be doing more in-depth topics on these subjects going forward. Thanks for watching and enjoy your day.